This week's episode is dedicated to the life and memory of Gary Kelly. Joining me today on this week's episode of the Paisley Pirates podcast is the man behind the lens. You've seen him at every game, whether that be a Pirates game, a Lightning Pirates game, or even a Glasgow Clan game. Al, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So this has actually been a request from Coach Turley to get you on, because he mentions about how you got into hockey photography, and I don't want to ruin anything. I'd like you to tell the stories how you got into being a hockey photographer.
Well, first of all, Ian set me up here. He told me a few days ago that he had done so. I've been a photographer for years, since I was a child. I was out one Saturday, I think it was a Saturday, in January 2010, taking landscape photographs and so on. And I was on the phone to my daughter and said I was fed up, I was going home. And she said, go to Castle Semple in Lachonach and take me some photographs of swans. So I used to live in Lachonach. I went to Castle Semple and the loch was frozen and it was full of hundreds of people, some just skating, some curling, and there were two rinks had been set up for ice hockey. One was all kids, so I stayed away from that with my camera, and I went to the other one, and there was a cup on the ice which turned out to be the Scottish Recreational Cup, and guys wearing jeans and various different hockey tops, no helmets, no pads, nothing. And they were just having effectively a bounce game. Now, I had no knowledge about hockey at all, but I spoke to somebody, said, do you mind if I take some photographs while you're in? And I spent about an hour or so taking photographs. And there was one team with jerseys that were obviously a Strathclyde Fire Brigade team. And there was another group of guys with the same jersey, which was the Paisley Blackhawks. And that was, I got some contact details and I sent the photographs to them later on, and that was the start of it.
So what initially kind of drew you to, like taking photos of the teams playing? Was it just the kind of spectacle of all of these guys playing on the ice? Because I remember that winter being, especially cold, and especially with, the Castle Semple waters being frozen. That's quite a feat, if I'm honest. But what drew you to saying to them, like, guys, can I take some photos? And did the spark ignite from there, or was it like once you were editing, you realised, this is something I could really get into?
At that point, I would have classed myself as a sports photographer, because there was a couple of other sports that I photographed regularly at that time. And it was just something different. I was also in a camera club, and you're always looking for different shots for competitions and so on at that time. So, yeah, I went and it attracted it. I think from memory, the first thing was I saw, when they're, I don't know, I've never skated in my life, but when they come to a halt and there's a spray of the ice, I thought that would look good in a photograph. So that was the start of it.
You requested your first press badge in 2010, and you quickly became a staple at Braehead for many a hockey team. What was it like building up your reputation from that very first Clan game that you photographed at?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, the Clan game was later that year, but I basically spent most of 2010, 2 or 3 evenings a week, going to ice rinks all around Scotland usually with some of the guys that had been on the ice that first day, photographing recreational hockey games. So I learned, if you like, my skill, my trade, doing that. I was photographing at the time Speedway and rugby for the Paisley Daily Express. And I sent an email to the Clan asking for a press pass and got knocked back. And I went to a guy called Jeff Holmes, who at that time was a sports reporter for the Paisley Express, who I dealt with.
Lovely chap, isn't
he? Absolutely. Still see him fairly regularly, done some work for him. And I said to Jeff, do you want ice hockey photographs? He said, yes. I said, well, you better get me a press pass then. And he did. And that's it. That's how I got into the clan. My first gig with the clan was the day before the first home game, when they had a press conference in the foyer with Brendan Cook, the captain, and Bruce Richardson, the coach, and Kirsty Longmuir, who was she was basically everything on the off-ice side at that time. And so I photographed that, and then there was the jersey launch, which was held over at the artificial ice slope.
Oh yes,
Yep, and I photographed that jersey launch as well. And then the first game, if off the top of my head, if I remember rightly, it was the 1st of October 2010 against Newcastle. And I photographed that, and basically ever since then I became the clan's photographer.
Do you believe that your background in the other sports photography has helped influence your style when switching to ice hockey?
Yes, but it's not just about style. I'm not trying to be artistic. You're providing or producing photographs for particular purposes. You're producing them for either web use or for the printed press. So there's specific things that they're looking for. I mean, I've done football. Don't like football, but I've done football. And it was described to me by the guy from the agency, the ideal picture is 2 men and a ball. For football.
That's quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for the peak of the action, if you like, and emotion. That's the kind of two things: action and emotion. If you can capture that, you're 90% of the way there.
So because you're known for being at the heart of the action, can you share any moments where timing for you was everything? Like, for instance, any kind of like iconic shots that you've been able to take?
Two in particular. One from the first season. It was Clan against Cardiff. And funnily enough, Ryan Finnerty, who became the Clan coach, was playing for Cardiff that day and was in the penalty box at this time. And I had learned through the recce and so on to follow not the puck, but where the puck was likely to be. And I saw some movement off to my left. I always stand in more or less the same position because it's a good compromise.
Yeah.
And I saw some movement off to my left. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I turned the camera and pressed the button, and it took 5 or 6 shots, only one of which is regularly or has been regularly seen, and it was what has become known as the Landry hit. And it was John Landry, a defence man for the Clan, and one of the Cardiff players who has unfortunately since died, who basically were both about 3 feet off the ground, parallel to the ice, after a mid-ice hit. And that was just, it was luck, but it was also luck because I knew something was about to happen. I didn't know what. You can't set up these photographs. And the other obvious one is Chris Frank down at the playoff final weekend, where he's grabbing his jersey and pulling it with just nothing but emotion in his face, and everybody thinks he's scored a goal. They see the picture, they think he scored or whatever. Actually, he'd just been ejected from the game, and that was him to the Sheffield fans, his old team, going, I play for the Clan now. And again, it was just, you don't know what's going to come, you just got to be ready for it.
So, out of those two, what one would you say you're the most proud of?
The Chris Frank one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a better photo. The Landry hit one is okay, but if I'm being super critical, it's slightly out of focus. The bottom of the skates are slightly out of the frame.
Right.
there's nothing in the background because it was the early days of the clan, and they were running with 700 or 800 fans at the time.
Right.
So there was no people in the background. The Chris Franklin, just the position I was in, the lens that I had, the frame was filled with Chris Frank and basically a blurred background. So I think it was a better picture.
Over the years, you've been shooting for, the Clan, the Pirates, the Lightning Pirates. What friendships or relationships stand out most to you?
It would be fair to say dozens, if not hundreds. There are so many people that I have met. I mean, the obvious, and this has surprised me, but the obvious one was your recent guests on the podcast, Stephen and Pam. Stephen was on the ice that first day in Lochlanich at Castle Semple. And I'm really shocked that you haven't asked me about biscuits, but that's another story.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You know what? While you brought it up, Al, what is your favourite biscuit?
Well, Stephen and Pam already burst that one. Mint yo-yos it has to be.
Mint yo-yos. So let's talk some kind of moments off the ice. Celebrations, kind of any banter you've been a part of. What's resonated with you is, as part of your hockey story?
Friendship and support. Friendship especially. The number of people that I've become really good friends with. I mean, going down a slight cul-de-sac, that first day at Castle Semple, there was 3 people who would become Pirates in my time on the ice that day. Brian Miller, Liam Riddle, trying to remember who else was there. Robin Elliott, who's an elite league referee, he was on the ice that day. Malky Anderson, who plays SNL. Chris Wishart was also on the ice that day, and a whole host of others. These are people I still see and are friendly with, some of whom I've done work for. I ended up doing wedding photography, and the vast majority of the weddings that I did were ice hockey related. And the last wedding that I did was Kaylee Little Logan's wedding, and I've now given it up, but hers was the last wedding, and I counted 7 brides at that wedding that I'd photographed their weddings because it was all hockey. So it's friendships, and then I've been in a position where things have been difficult, and the support that I've had from people, particularly within the Pirates and the Turley family, has been second to none. Absolutely second to none.
I see a lot of people that I'm speaking to on this, they've said the exact same thing. That the Turleys have been a massive show of support for them, not just in hockey, but also out with, and as you say, Pam and Stevie and Cold Blooded, they were the exact same. They said that Jackie herself as well, where it was a massive support for them when they had the issue with the shop as well, and when Pam gave birth as well. So it's honestly really nice to hear and to see that kind of support as well going back to the Turleys. Because even myself, I've got so much admiration for them as well. Just because of how welcoming they've been to me as well, as a volunteer with the team as well, and to setting the podcast up. It's really nice to see. That people speak so highly of them, and long may it can continue.
Yeah, I'd been with the clan for 3 years before I became involved with the Pirates, and I had zero connection with the Pirates prior to that. In fact, at one point, Jeff Holmes messaged me and asked me, "Do I have any pictures of Chris Turley?" And who? I had no idea who it was at the time. And then it was, that would be 2013-14, I think was my first season with the Pirates. And I get put in touch with Jackie and offered to do photographs for them because they didn't seem to have any photographs or regular photographs when you look back at the web presence. So, and I enjoyed it. I enjoy doing it. It's become a huge part of my life.
So looking at, like, obviously we ask people for advice on this on the podcast, like whether it's the players, the coaches, but obviously for yourself as well. So, what advice would you give to aspiring photographers who want to, get into sport, or even just pick up a camera in the first place?
Start at the basic level. I started at Castle Semple. I then went from Castle Semple I spoke to the team after giving them the pictures, and I went to photograph some ice hockey at Braehead. Now, at that time, there was no paint under the ice. It was just the concrete with the ice on top of it. There was no plexiglass around it. So that would probably be February 2010. But the point being, I then was going 2 or 3 days a week all throughout Scotland, very often with Robin Elliott, to different rinks, and was just learning. And so, if I look back at some of the early pictures, they were awful. They just were, because I didn't know what I was doing. So you've got to learn how to do it. I mean, I quite often, particularly at the end of the summer, get messages from people who are doing photography courses asking to shadow me, to do this, to do that. And I'm not trying to put them off, but it's not just as easy as that. You've got to learn what you're doing. And I point them in the direction of the recreational teams, who mostly love and are happy to have people coming along taking photographs.
Yeah.
Because I don't do the recreational as much now as I used to. I just don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I very much still support it. I do occasionally do a recreational thing, but I don't have the time to do that. I'm doing over 50 games a year between Clan Pirates and Lightning Pirates.
Mm-hmm. So how do you balance being, so close to the action, both physically and creatively, while still capturing that emotion and storytelling?
You're looking for the peak action initially, whether that be a goal and you're getting the netminder with the puck past him, or the puck, or him saving the puck, or you're looking for a hit or a shot, whatever. You're looking for action, but you're also looking for reaction, for the emotion. So if somebody scores a goal, it's the Clan, not the Pirates. But last season, Herd, every time he scored, and it's obviously his thing because of his name, every time he scored, he came and everybody skates past the bench. He would skate past the bench, putting his hand behind his ear. And I ended up with a second camera with a shorter lens, so I was capturing that when he was doing it. So you're just looking for pictures that the club can use, whether it be the Pirates or the Clan. You're looking for pictures that the club can use in their PR.
So your galleries, they cover years of, various teams, various sports. How has your technique or style evolved over this time?
I would say my style is fill the frame. I tend, if you, I like them to be well lit, and it's the light from the arena. There's no, you can't use flash because it would be distracting to the players. But knowing where you are, knowing how to get the correct exposure so that they're well lit, getting them sharp so that they're in focus. And then, as I say, my camera is fairly large amount of megapixels, so I can crop in if necessary, and I'll do that. And it's where you crop. You don't crop them at the ankles. You crop them mid thigh or below the knees if necessary. Or if you're going to crop them, you don't crop the skates out. It's just when you're doing it, the software that I use, nobody really knows what I'm doing. Not so much at Pirates games, but at Clan games, at every break, I'm going into a room and I'm going through all the photographs that I took in the previous period, which is usually about 200 to 300, where I have to pick between 8 and 12 photographs, edit them, upload them to Facebook, Twitter, and the league, and then get back for the start of the next period. So within 18 minutes, I'm doing a lot of editing.
Yeah.
And it's years of practice to get it. I can now do it with about 2 minutes to spare.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as your next step? Are you looking at potentially different events or different sports, or or just staying where you are just now, or is there even a path for yourself to look at mentoring others into sports photography?
At the moment, I have given up virtually everything apart from the hockey. I do occasional other things, but I've basically given up everything else apart from the hockey. I used to have a studio. COVID killed that. Um, I did weddings. Basically, COVID killed that as well. I did a few after COVID, but it basically finished that. Um, so essentially, I'm retired apart from the ice hockey. I've got no plans to give it up at the moment. I'm 65. I won't be there forever. Mentoring somebody, I think it would be a good idea, and I've mentioned this before. I think it would be a good idea to have somebody to learn what's required. And I've spoken to a few people over the last couple of years about it, but it's the commitment. People can't give the commitment for the amount of time that's involved in it, because like everybody else at the Pirates is totally unpaid, um, and that's just the way it is. And it's everybody from me to all the volunteers to the players to the staff. Nobody gets paid at the Pirates. So if somebody did come to assist me at the Pirates, they wouldn't be getting paid, and that doesn't appeal to everybody.
So would you say that with what you're doing just now, that is maybe suited to someone who is a full-time photographer? That is their job. It's not someone that's doing it on the side, sort of thing.
Somebody that's doing it full time who makes a living from it probably wouldn't do it because they're not getting paid. But somebody who is a good photographer, if you like, a good amateur photographer, might fit well in with it. Particularly for ice hockey, it would be easier if it was somebody that knew the game. I didn't know the game when I started. I had to learn it, and I was lucky that. I mean, as I say, I was travelling all over Scotland with Robin Elliott mostly, and I knew nothing. He's talking about the lines. I'm going, what's lines? I didn't know. I knew nothing about the game at all. I'd probably watched about 2 games in my life prior to that previous Winter Olympics. So that was it. That was my entire knowledge. So it would be good if it was somebody who had some knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious thing is somebody that's played the game, even at a recreational level. But we'll see. It's not up to me. I mean, at the end of the day, I can advise, I can help, but with either of the clubs, it's not up to me whether somebody can get access.
Would you say now that you are a hockey fan, being around it for so long now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been to and do go to some away games without a camera. I will do that from time to time. I have to say, there's only once that I've been at a game at Braehead watching without a camera in my hand, and that was in September 2016, just after my wee visit to the coronary care unit. So I wasn't allowed to.
That's fair. That's fair.
And that was the game that Jay Rosehill got hit in the face. It was a pre-season game against Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay Rosehill got hit in the face with a puck and ended up with multiple stitches and broken teeth, and his palate was broken, and he was playing the next week.
Goodness. So, just some personal reflections before we wrap up. You mentioned the friendships you formed through hockey. How has being part of this community changed you as a person? If you believe there's been a change at all?
I don't know if it's changed me. I think I'm probably the same person that I was at the beginning, but I've got a much wider friend base now than I used to have. So I mean, I've still got a lot of friends from my old working days, friends from the Speedway still, and like everybody else, legacy friendships, if you like. But I have got, if you go through my stupidly large friend list on Facebook. The majority of people are hockey related. Granted, the majority of people that are on it don't actually know me. They just want to see the pictures, which is why I never post the pictures now on my personal Facebook, only in my photo one.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I didn't know about that when I started. So there's too many people on it that not nice people, absolutely, but they're only on it because they wanted to see photographs.
Lastly, if we could capture one future moment for the Pirates or for the Clan or for the Lightning Pirates, for you, what would it be?
All three winning something major. The Clan have never won silverware apart from I think it was the Aladdin Cup it was called, which is just the conference trophy that they had. They've only been to playoff final weekend once. I would like to see them get to that and get and win. Pirates, I've seen them win the league. I've seen them win the Scottish Cup. I've seen them win the playoffs. I'd like to see it again. Obviously, the Pirates are now a very much younger team than they were when I started with them, average age-wise. A lot of the players are former Lightning Pirates players who played up, and that, I think, bodes well for the future because these are guys that know each other. So, yeah, seeing the Pirates win one of the three major competitions or seeing the Lightning Pirates continue to do well and grow.
Excellent. I couldn't agree with you more. Are you looking forward to next season now?
I'm actually, yeah. I mean, I always say round about March, I'm all hockeyed out. Yeah, by the middle of March, I just want the season over.
Yeah.
But I've had a summer off, and yes, I'm quite looking forward to getting back.
Brilliant. Al, thanks for taking the time with me today. Where can people find you when you're not at the side of the rink snapping some shots?
My website is algouldphoto.com, Goold with two O's, and also on Facebook or Twitter, X. If you search for Al Goold Photo, you'll find me. On Instagram, I'm Clan Photos.
Excellent. Al, thank you so much for your time today. And
No problem.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you again for next season. And yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Take care.
Hey folks, just before we wrap up this episode, just out of respect for the recent passing of Gary Kelly, we've chosen to remove our usual jingles and music from this episode, just to keep things respectful for him, and from all the team here at the Pirates, from volunteers to the players. We pass on our best wishes and our condolences to Gary's family and the entire Aberdeen Lynx. But with that said, we do have a couple of quick community updates to share with you all. So first up, we have a shout out to our new friends at the Glasgow Thistles. They've got a fantastic beginners ice hockey fun day coming up on August the 3rd between 5 and 7 at the Peak in Stirling. Yeah, if you've ever thought about giving ice hockey a try, this is a ladies only session for those new to the sport. This is now your chance. So expect on ice and off ice activities, basic skill sessions. They've got some prizes and competitions on the go on the evening with a great community vibe, and there's snacks included, I am also told. It's just £10 to take part, no experience necessary, and gear can be provided on request, so don't let that hold you back. We're also hoping to have head coach Aisling Rafter on the podcast in the coming weeks to chat more about the Thistles and their mission. And just a super quick reminder of our live podcast happening on Saturday the 30th of August at the Wine Centre in Paisley. We'd absolutely love to see you there. Tickets are available from paisleypirates.co.uk and click on the events tab.